Let's enjoy English school!
Yo!
Today is November 7th. We are on pages 18 and 19. It's the book club. And this month, our book is called The Knight in Rusty Armor.
没错，我们今天的好书俱乐部单元要跟各位介绍的就是这部好书，就是为自己出征。它的英文的这个书名叫做 The Knight in Rusty Armor。And
of course, you heard me and Anthony say KN 就发 N, The Knight in Rusty Armor. But fun fact, you did used to say this K. 这个 K 现在没有发音, but in the past you would say the knight.
Oh.
which sounds stupid. Like I know. Like the knight sounds so bad, right?
Yeah, 没错，听起来好怪啊。
Yeah, and also 导片 KNIFE, you used to call it a knife. 你的膝盖 used to be a knee. Please never say that.
原来以前呢，这个 K 是会发音的，到后来慢慢演变了之后，这个 K 就不发音了。所以这个地方虽然有 K， 但是我们要发 knight 来表达歧视。
Like you could say like this knight, like he hits you, he cuts you. So you'd be like, oh, the knight, knut my knee with his knife. I can't even say it. It's so stupid.
Weird.
I can't say it.
I know.
Right. So yeah, we don't say that anymore, and you shouldn't either. Let's hear our story, and when we come back, we'll have paragraph 1.
The Knight in Rusty Armor. Robert Fisher's The Knight in Rusty Armor is the story of an unnamed knight. This knight has a wife, Juliet, and a son, Christopher. The knight loves being a knight. He focuses his entire life on being the best knight possible. However, this leads him away from his family. He refuses to take off his armor, so Juliet gives him a choice. Either he takes off his armor or she leaves with their son. He decides he would rather keep his family. However, he is unable to remove his armor. People in town try to help but fail, so they tell him to look for the wizard Merlin. When the knight finally finds Merlin, Merlin tells him that he has been lost for his entire life. Merlin tells the knight that he put on the armor only because he was afraid. Finally, Merlin tells him that he must seek answers for himself. Merlin sends the knight on the path of truth to 3 castles: silence, knowledge, and will and daring. At the end of the path is a large jump. As the knight leaps, he learns to accept himself, and the armor falls off.
All right, friends, let's look at our subtitle today. Where's our subtitle? A funny fairy tale tells a story of self-discovery. When we have self-discovery, we learn about ourselves. We learn something new. Maybe this sounds funny, like how do I not know myself, right? But maybe your mom and dad or your friends or teachers, they want you to try to do something new. And when you do something new, you're like, wait, I kind of like this. I didn't know that. And if you ever wonder why you have to take like a music class and you learn like the recorder, or you have to learn a foreign language, that's kind of why. They want you to try these different things, and then you say, wow, I have this moment of self-discovery. That's why I speak Chinese. That's why I'm here right now. I had to take a language. I hated Spanish. I tried Chinese. I said, well, that's pretty fun. I was bad at it, but I liked it. And then I moved to Taiwan, and here I am today because of self-discovery.
没错，在这个副标题里面，你所看到的 self-discovery 自我发现，发现自己这个过程是非常非常有趣的。像老师刚刚就提到说呢，他呢，其实上他发现他自己没有那么喜欢西班牙文，但一学中文之后，一试成主顾，好喜欢，然后最后慢慢找到了在台湾工作的机会，然后就落地生根了。那很多时候，你可能小的时候呢，爸爸妈妈有送你去学各种才艺啊等等的，这也是一个 self-discovery 的过程。那在这边的话，副标题就告诉你说 ，a funny fairy tale， 一个有趣的童话故事 tells a story of self-discovery， 来告诉你一个自我发现的过程。
Okay, now let's look at paragraph 1 here. Robert Fisher's The Knight in Rusty Armor is a story of an unnamed knight.
好，我们来看第一段的第一句话，他说 Robert Fisher's The Knight in Rusty Armor is the story of an unnamed knight。在这边的话，我们看到我们的主要的这个作者叫做 Robert Fisher， 然后他的这部作品为自己出征，英文呢就是 The Knight in Rusty Armor， 是一个 The story of an unnamed knight， 是讲一个无名武士的故事。
That's right. Now, when we say unnamed, 我们没有意思是 he doesn't have a name. We just don't tell you the name. Video games do this a lot. The player you use doesn't talk because now you can see yourself in them better. Because our knight is unnamed, maybe you are the knight. And that's why in video games your player doesn't talk because now you have your personality there. If your player or your character has a name and a personality, sometimes you don't like them or agree with them.
没有错。所以这边的话，为什么是无名武士呢？因为任何人只要看了这个作品，都可以把自己带入进去。然后就像老师提到说，电玩里面很多时候这个电玩主角也是没有任何的名字的，这样玩游戏的人就可以把自己带入，那种代入感就很强烈咯。
Let's continue. This knight has a wife, Juliet, and a son.That's a good name, Christopher.
没错 ，That's him. Hey, 他说 This knight has a wife Juliet and a son Christopher. 他就告诉你说，他的老婆呢叫做茱莉亚或是茱莉叶，然后 and a son， 他的儿子呢叫 Christopher 啊，就是我们 Chris 老师这个名字。
The knight loves being a knight.
好，他就告诉你说 The knight loves being a knight。这个骑士呢，他非常非常喜欢自己身为骑士这样的身份。
He focuses his entire life.on being the best knight possible.
好，这边的话特别注意一下 focus 这个字，通常是 focus his entire life on something， 所以这个 focus 跟搭配 on 这个字的这个介系词常常会使用在一起哦。所以他这边他讲到说呢，他把他一辈子呢都把它放在怎么样能够成为最好的武士，把这个当做一个目标。
And just like Anthony said, we focus.on something, 介系词后 we need a noun. That's a be as a verb, so 后面加 ing. Now we have our gerund. Let's continue. However, this, just focusing on being a knight, however, this leads him away from his family. That's not good.
没错，这边他讲说 This leads him away from his family， 就说因为他这么专注要变成一个很强的武士，好有龙就到处去杀龙，然后有这个女生就要去救等等，都忙着做这些事情，没有机会去顾他的家庭，所以呢，这也导致他跟他的家人非常的疏离。
He refuses to take off his armor, so Juliet gives him a choice.
好，他告诉你了 ，He refuses to take off his armor. Take off 就是脱掉的意思，因为他可能吃饭吃一半呢，或是忙到一半就要去沙龙了，还要穿盔甲很麻烦，他干脆就不脱了。好，不脱了之后呢 ，So Juliet， 好，他老婆 gives him a choice。他说好啊，你现在都把重心放在那边了，我就给你一个非常非常少的一个选择，什么选择呢
No. Well, actually, before we go to the Shrenja, let's talk about what Anthony just said. So when we give you a choice, you could just say A or B, but this is a very strong choice, and we're going to see that. This choice is called an ultimatum. An ultimatum is a very serious choice with a very, very big impact on your life. We'll see this in a second. We'll come back. Ready? So his wife says, either he takes off his armor or she leaves with their son. Wow. This is a very big choice. So it's not just like, hey, do you want cookies or cake? This is, you can choose to be a knight or you can choose to be a father. You can't do both right now because you can't do both, right? You're not able to. This is your ultimatum.
老师刚刚提到这个 ultimatum 这个字呢，意思是最后通牒，一个很重要的选择。它的拼法是 ultimatum。好，这个是 ultimatum 的拼法，最后通牒，下了最后通牒了，要么你就把盔甲脱掉，不然的话我就带着儿子一起离开你。哇，好恐怖。
That's a big one. That's a big choice. So what happens? He decides he would rather keep his family. Good choice.
对啊，这个武士呢，骑士就讲说，好啊，那我想办法把盔甲脱掉。He decides he would rather keep his family. When you say I would rather do something， 就是我宁愿比较想做这个，而不要做后面。往往如果你要去比较的话，我会想到那个 Backstreet Boy 里面有一首歌的一句话说 ，I rather die than live without you, right? I rather die， 然后我宁愿死，然后 than live without you， 也不要说在我的生活中没有你。所以你可以去用这个 than 跟 would rather 去搭配。
That's right. So let's continue here. Our next sentence begins, however, he is unable to remove his armor.
哎。好，这句话就告诉你了。However， 好了，他想脱了，想要把盔甲脱掉，可是呢 ，However, he is unable to remove his armor。哎，盔甲脱不掉了耶。
So, do Taiwanese say this to their children? Do Taiwanese parents say this to their children? If a kid is making a funny face, they want to make a strange face, and American parents will say to their children, "If you keep doing that, your face will get stuck like that."
Right.
Do your Taiwanese
No,
parents say
we
that
don't say that, but I know. 我就说，今天如果你一直做鬼脸的话，到了定型了就惨喽。就是外国人的时候会对小孩讲说，你不要再做鬼脸了，不然他会定型，然后之后就回不来。这样。
How old were you when you realized your parents were kind of lying to you about that?
Like 10.
Really?
Yeah.
I was quite old where I realized I think my mom was just saying that so I'd stop like looking at people in strange ways. So I should tell you the story about this. It makes more sense. When my dad was driving, like people would drive past us, and 我注意到, I noticed that people in different cars would look at each other, right?
Right.
And so, especially the kids, we'd look at each other. So they drive by, and I would give them bad faces, or like something was wrong with me, and everyone would look. And I just thought this was so funny, and it made my dad really mad. And so he would tell me, your face is going to get stuck like that. Don't do that. And I was like, but I was pretty old before I realized, maybe it was just a 没有想到 that's not true. They just don't want me looking at people in strange ways.
没错，你也不想要知道 you don't want to find out, right? That you want to try and find
exactly.
out.
You don't want to find out.
Right. 所以很多时候就变成是，然后爸妈跟你讲说，哎，你再做鬼脸的话，他回不来就惨了。所以老师的话是到了比较晚年的时候，才发现到说原来并不会那样。但是事实上你也没有那个勇气去真的试试看，说我就不信，好，搞不好如果真的怎么办，对不对
？Okay, let's continue to our next sentence. People in town try to help but fail, so they tell him to look for the wizard Merlin.
好，所以这句话就说 People in town try to help but fail. 好，但人们呢，在这个镇上的人们都想办法帮你把这个盔甲脱下来，可是没有办法，都失败了。So they tell him to look for the wizard Merlin. 好，他决定说好了，那你去找那个魔法师梅林，他一定有办法的，所以就请这个骑士赶快去找梅林魔法师。
Okay, let's take a break here, and when we come back, we're going to have part 2 of our story. Hey everyone, welcome back to Enjoy English School. We are on pages 18 and 19, and it's day 1 of our book club article. It's called The Knight in Rusty Armor. Mr. Anthony, I have to say our unnamed knight is a foolish person.
老师说他觉得这个骑士根本是一个很笨的人。Why?
Yeah, well, because armor it's kind of uncomfortable to wear. Today and tomorrow, we're going to talk about some real facts. We have our story, but we'll also share some real facts about what wearing armor is like.
今天跟明天呢，我们今天还是会讲一下说，其实穿着这个盔甲的感觉其实很不舒服的，怎么可能说哇，会整天穿着然后不脱掉，然后会告诉你更多跟盔甲有关的事情。
So number 1, let's just be clear that you can actually move pretty good in armor. People think like you become like a giant robot that can't really move. That's not true. So him not taking off his armor is okay because he could still move around, but armor was really, really hot. Because think when you're in the sun, did you ever touch like metal in the summer? Like in a car, remember in cars in the past, they would have metal and you touch it. It was like on fire. Pieces of metal in armor did not have holes for air because they were just big pieces of metal. Your whole body would touch this terribly hot metal, but it would protect your body, so it was worth it.
Yeah, 没错，老师这边提到一个很重要的概念，就是说，其实事实上你整天穿着盔甲，你光是放在这个阳光底下，你这样晒一晒，对不对？然后老师就提到说，不晓得你们在车里面有没有这种机会看到，以前的时候可能车里面有些金属的东西，在太阳底下，你这样一碰一下，哇，好像你今天你的手就变成就熟了。 很快就熟了。
Yeah.
所以你穿的这个盔甲一定是受不了 super hot.
Now, plate armor, that's like when you think of like a knight and they're wearing the full suit of armor, it's actually not really all that heavy. It's 25 kilograms. That's like a 7-year-old kid. And now carrying a 7-year-old kid in your arms all day would be very tiring because all of the weight is right here. But armor is all over your body. Today, let's compare it. 25 kilograms is less than what most firefighters carry when they run into a very tall building.
OK， 所以很多人会以为说穿的盔甲一定很重吧？事实上，当时的盔甲呢，可能大概只有25公斤重。如果说今天你抱一个7岁小朋友25公斤重的，那你可能觉得哇好重，因为重量都放在这个地方。可如果是攀在全身的话，其实没有那么重。事实上，你要去比的话呢，搞不好消防队员身上穿的这些装备也比这25公斤要重很多了。
That's right, and we can see firefighters have to run really fast. So that's even less than a firefighter. So yeah, knights could actually move pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, we'll share more stories later and tomorrow, but for now, let's start paragraph 2. When the knight finally finds Merlin, Merlin tells him that he has been lost for his entire life. Oh, 好有意思 OK.
OK， 所以接下来呢，他就说啦，好，这一段他讲说 ，When the knight finally finds Merlin， 当这个骑士他最后终于找到了那个梅林魔法师，他在这个森林里面就像迷路了好一阵子嘛。好，这我有去看书，后来发现好不容易找到梅林了，梅林就告诉他说，好 ，Merlin tells him that he has been lost for his entire life， 这辈子他都迷失了。哇，通常你听到说我只要你帮我脱盔甲，然后你告诉我这辈子都迷失了，其实不会很开心的。
Yeah, Merlin tells the knight that he put on the armor only because he was afraid.
好，就他梅林跟他讲的东西更是让人家一语惊醒梦中人了。他说 ，Merlin tells the knight that he put on the armor only because he was afraid。当初呢，之所以你会穿上盔甲，好，是因为你很害怕。所以其实梅林并没有直接帮他说，来，我帮你脱盔甲，没有，他会告诉你，你为什么现在会卡在盔甲里面，然后顺便告诉你，当初你穿上盔甲的原因是因为你害怕。
Now, right away, I start to think that this is a story about a father and his wife and his son are having problems. That mom wants to take their son. So maybe like in the story, it's real clink, clink, clink metal armor. But really, if we think about the story, maybe this is emotional armor. This is his feelings. He can't open up to his wife. He hides his problems. He can't spend time with their children. He works too much. When we talk about day 2 tomorrow, I have to think that maybe this story is a lot about Robert Fisher, the author.
没错，所以在这边的话呢，你可以看得出来，如果说今天你看到 armor 好像是实体的东西，说不定实际在读的过程中，你会发现到说，哦，原来他这边讲的 armor 未必是指实体的盔甲，可能是在情绪上面，他不愿意跟他的这个太太跟孩子敞开心房，这也是一种 armor。所以到后面的话，我们也会介绍这个作者本身他所产出的这个作品啦，还有他的个人经验，为什么会去讲这样子的故事。
Let's continue here. Finally, Merlin tells him that he must seek answers for himself.
好，接下来他就告诉你说了 ，Finally， 最后呢 ，Merlin tells him， 好，就告诉他说 ，he must seek answers for himself， 他必须要自己去找出问题的答案。
Merlin sends the knight on the path of truth to 3 castles: silence, knowledge, and will and daring.
啊，没错，所以接下来呢，他就跟他讲说 ，Merlin sends the knights on the path of truth。他就跟他讲说，你必须要踏上前往真理之道的路上 ，to 3 castles， 中间会经过3个城堡。然后第一个就是 silence 寂静之城，然后呢 knowledge 知识之城，还有 will and daring 智勇之城。这3个城堡，你这3个城堡中都可以有你要学到的东西。
Now, Xiaoxin, listen to how I say this. So we have silence, knowledge, and will and daring. Because 这个 will and daring 要在一起，而且有另外一个 and a little bit of dun dun right here is really useful. And will and daring. You could put those two together. Now, when we say will, this means you have strong feelings. You really want to do something. You won't stop. Daring just means bravery.
呀，没错，在这边的话 ，will 就是指意志的意思，你的意志力 ，like willpower 那个 will。那这边的话 ，daring 就是指 bravery， 就是勇敢。
Let's continue. At the end of the path is a large jump. Jump here is a noun. It means like a big hole.
OK， 所以这边的话 at At the end of the path， 那最后这个真理之道的最后呢 ，is a large jump 啊，你要勇敢的奋力一跃。
As the knight leaps, he learns to accept himself, and the armor falls off.
好，最后他说 ，as the knight leaps， 好，当他纵身一跃的时候呢 ，he learns to accept himself， 他学会了接受了自己 ，and the armor falls off， 突然呢，这个盔甲就整个就脱掉了。
And then he hits the ground. No,
No,
开玩笑. No, I really like this ending. I have never read this story, and when I saw this, I said, "Wow, I really like this. That no one could take off the armor. Even he could not take off the armor. He learns about himself. He learns some new skills." And then the armor just goes away. I really like this ending. I feel like 觉得很有意思。
非常非常的有画面，很有电影感，对不对？突然之间他纵身一跃，然后他放开了他自己，然后他觉得接受自己了，最后他身上那些盔甲都慢慢的瓦解了，就不要了。然后因为他不需要了，我觉得那个感觉是很美的，而且是非常非常有画面感。
Yeah. All right. With that, let's get ready for vocab review. All right, friends, it's time for vocab review. Our first word is an adjective, rusty.
Rusty 就是生锈的。
The noun is uncountable. It's just rust.
Rust 就是那个锈。
Number 2, to focus A on B.
Focus A on B， 这边的 A 多半是你的心力啊、时间，甚至整个生命。On something 就是把你的时间、心力、生命用在什么事上面。
Number 3 is to take off.
To take off 就是指脱掉的意思。
Number 4, would rather verb.
Would rather 加上一个动词，就是宁愿做这件事情。
And then you could say than, and 然后你的比较句。Number 5, remove something.
Remove something 就是把什么东西移开或是脱掉的意思。
Our next word today is another verb, to seek something.
To seek something 就是去寻找某个东西，这个 seek 的话本身就是及物动词咯。
Sometimes we'll say to seek out something. Number 7, silence.
Silence 就是
And number 8, yeah, and don't say be quiet. That's a different idea, right? And number 8, this is to leap, and it's also, we could also say a leap. You could also make this a noun.
OK, leap 这个字的话，它可以当动词，纵身一跃、一跳，或者是它本身可以当名词来使用哦。
When we say leap, it feels like a big jump. Like think of like how a frog jumps.
啊，没错，所以它有点像是一个那个青蛙往前用力一跳的感觉。有的时候你会听到一种说法叫 take a leap of faith.
A leap of faith.
就是抱持的信念，纵身一跳那种感觉。
That's right. Because you believe in something is very true. You can do something before you have a lot of evidence. So it's your leap. Maybe you can't see what's down below, but you can still jump knowing you will be safe because you believe in something so strongly.
没错，就是这样子，很有强大的信念，让你能够做这样子勇敢的尝试。
All right, and with that, that's it for today. When we come back tomorrow, we have more about our friend Robert Fisher, the author. We have a lot more facts, including how do you clean your armor? What was the scariest weapon that you could face with while wearing armor? And a whole lot more. For Enjoy English School, I'm Chris Gorski.
I'm Antony.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.